It's been 30 years since Montgomery County has seen changes to the council structure, something voters are clear about changing.
In the 30 years that we've had this council structure, our population has increased by 50%.
Right now, the council is made up of 9 members, 5 elected from separate districts and 4 at large. But after 61% of voters said yes to expanding the council to 11 members and increasing council districts from 5 to 7, change is on the way. Only 39% of votes were against question C. At-large council member Evan Glass says the change is necessary to keep up with the county's growing population, which has 1.1 million people. He says an 11-member redistricting commission will help with the new structure.
We'll be doing redistricting based on the 2020 census, which will tell us where all the population centers are here in the county so that we can accurately and fairly draw 7 new council districts.
I feel good. It's not what we wanted, but it's changed.
Kimblin Prasad is chair of the grassroots movement 9 Districts for MOCO, which was behind the second option for voters, question D. The measure would divide the county into 9 council districts, doing away with at-large seats, helping to spread out representation. More than 16,000 people signed a petition to get this on the ballot. In the end, 57% voted against it, 43% for it.
The county is too large. By having the 9 districts, you would create smaller districts, which would allow for more representation. I believe that we're still going to have the same problem with the at-larges.
Councilmember Glass says he understands others' concerns, but believes keeping the at-large structure with an expansion is the way to go.
Montgomery County voters have spoken.